Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking another fun and exciting video for you guys today, and that is because Super ZSNES has updated again, bringing in SuperFX support and a lot of improvements around the edges. And even though I totally get it, we have basically near to perfect Super Nintendo emulation already. Having Super ZSNES back in development from the original team that brought us ZSNES back in the day is such a fun time. And with a lot of the enhancements and future plans, this is basically still the building blocks of something that might be one of the most exciting Super Nintendo emulators to come out in recent memory. And honestly, as I love to say on the channel, options are good, and the more options we have to play some of the best games of all time, the better in my opinion. And now, as of this update, the SuperFX chipset is going to be incorporated into the emulator, and as far as my testing, everything seemed to work perfectly fine, except Doom, which froze, and I will show you that later on in the video. But of course, back in the day, SuperFX games, especially Star Fox, kind of felt like magic. Because sure, you could see 3D in arcades, and if you had a powerful PC, maybe every once in a while you could see a software rendered polygon here or there, but in the home console space, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, it was firmly the background layer and sprite era, and even with Mode 7 that had that pseudo 3D look to it, you still knew it wasn't the same 3D that you were seeing in arcades. And even if obviously Star Fox isn't as impressive as the arcade hardware that was on store floors back in the day, when you'd actually walk into an arcade, seeing 3D at home absolutely blew everyone's mind. And I would say because of the flat shaded polygons here and the dithering effects, honestly it's aged really well, outside of the frame rate of course not being something like 30 or 60 frames per second. And in my time playing around with the SuperFX update, right now I'm playing Star Fox EX from Candawantu because I wanted to try some actual ROM hacks that utilize the SuperFX chip. Sure, those wouldn't be expected to play in something like emulation unless they were tested, but it really shows that the SuperFX implementation here, even off the first draft from the Super ZSNES team, really is working effectively, and that is always promising. Like I said, there's definitely other options out there when it comes to Super NES emulation. It'll definitely be a little bit more buttoned up, but honestly, getting more options is good, and for the SuperFX chip to be this good off the top is definitely impressive. Now going through the patch notes here for version 0.230, I'll go over some of the top notes and leave the link in the description below so you can grab the download and or actually go through the notes in and of themselves. But you'll see here there's a lot of improvements here. Obviously the initial SuperFX emulation support coming in is going to be a big deal, but they optimize some of the GPU memory allocations as well. That way things are going to be running smoother, because this will use your GPU at least in certain instances, but really the top note thing here is going to be that SuperFX games are now working. And this is from, again, the same team that brought you SuperFX emulation back in the ZSNES days, and a separate volume control for MSG1 audio. I think that is absolutely an amazing update. It is small, but sometimes you want to rebalance the audio with the gameplay because it can either be a little bit too quiet or a little bit too loud, so giving you independent control over that volume slider definitely is a small feature that'll make a very big difference moving forward, I think, for everyone. And I just love the fact that this emulation is being made right now in 2026 by the original ZSNES team, because they felt like they had another idea on how to make Super Nintendo emulation even better, and they decided to run with that. And it's one of those things. I just did a video on the best emulators for every single console, and while Super ZSNES wouldn't actually take the top spot right now, just because it's not done, it could be something in the future that I kind of give that nod to as being one of the best choices. But for the games it runs them exceedingly well, and that is impressive. And if you never played Candawantu's version of Star Fox, it is 10 out of 10 fun, weird, and quirky, and really is a great time. And I totally get it. I'm testing the emulation here on something that wasn't officially released back in the day, but that is kind of fun to see if it works as well. But we'll be jumping into Yoshi's Island in just a moment so we can take a look at something that not only utilizes 2D, not 3D for the most of the gameplay, but was of course something that actually saw a retail release back in the day. But again, if you've never played this, I can't stress enough, Candawantu absolutely make some of the best ROM hacks for Super Nintendo, including some that have Rumble support now that limited run games have released the Rumble controller code for anyone to use. So it really is kind of a new renaissance era for Super Nintendo, not only on the emulation side, but also on the control side, and that's always fun. Let's take a look at Yoshi's Island right now. In my opinion, the best game ever to use a SuperFX chip, and one of the best games Nintendo ever made on Super Nintendo or any other platform. It's also going to be our first soundtrack sample, so go ahead and listen to the audio, get an idea of what Super ZSNES is doing with it, and I'll be right back with more improvements. I mean, at least in my opinion, that's 10 out of 10. No notes audio coming out of there, but you leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think. You're also going to get some improved data loading speed and a note about some false flags on this one in Windows Defender and in browsers. I have tested this through and through. Hundreds of other people have tested it as well, and there's been no issues whatsoever, but always do your due diligence. Don't trust anyone, myself included. If you have any concerns, always check for yourself. But as far as my concerns are, they are not existent, and I just ran this thing perfectly fine, no issues, and checked after I was done with it. But moving into Star Fox, the original retail game, I think I said at the beginning of the video that Doom was the only game that froze, but then I remembered I tested Star Fox 2 and that froze at the intro. But again, that isn't a retail game, so it's kind of hard to say exactly why that happened. It might be doing something that we just don't know about, or at least I don't personally know about. But I'm sure as time goes on, this will improve. But I know you guys love keeping up with the Super ZSNES progress, and I love talking about it, because again, I keep saying this is why retro gaming is making a comeback, and we are in a new retro golden era. There's just so many amazing emulators out there. I can do videos for best emulator for every console, and I think one of the #1 questions I get is how to emulate retro games from new people getting into it. Because don't forget, you and I know, the viewers of this channel and me, of course, being the channel, we know how to emulate games. There are a lot of people that are in their 20s that want to go back and play some of these things. They don't exactly know about emulation all that much because they didn't really grow up with it. We are the generation era where basically we started emulating these things not too long after they actually left store shelves. But today, if maybe your first console when you were a teenager was like PlayStation 4, you don't really know all that much about emulation because it wasn't as big of a deal when you were playing video games. I know that sounds crazy because emulation has always been with us, but I feel like if I asked my oldest nephew Charlie, who is 15 right now, if he knew what a video game emulator was, and trust me, kid loves to play video games, I don't know if the answer would actually come back in the affirmative. And that is why it's important that we talk about this stuff, that we continue making them and refining them, because there's going to be a whole new era of people that want to jump into retro without the original hardware next to them, and this is why this stuff is so important. We want the retro tent to get bigger, we want more people under it, because as we age out of it, I don't think I ever will, but that's just me personally, we need to backfill those open spots with new people, because at some point in life, a lot of people just gravitate, maybe not away from gaming, but towards other things, because the reality is the one thing that age and even more money cannot buy us is more free time. If anything, it seems like the older we get, the more responsibilities we have, because on any given weekend, now that my wife and I just purchased our new house, I'd love to sit down and play some video games, that I'm probably at a furniture store looking for furniture with my wife, or I'm fixing something, or we're working in the back garden era, and it's just one of those things that I always feel like the one thing I can't get any more of is time. But the gaming generation that was born directly after us probably does have that extra time, and might be rediscovering a lot of these new retro gems, whether it's through video game emulation, whether it's through static recomps or PC source ports based upon decompilations. There's a lot of fun for them to be had out there, and new emulators definitely going to help it happen. Let's do a Doom soundtrack sample just so you can hear the audio quality here, and I'll be right back with more news. Definitely sounds like Super Nintendo Doom to me, but you will see here in just a moment as I actually make contact with this wall, it's going to just basically freeze. Looks like I just paused the video, but this is where it ended up not executing any more code. But interestingly enough, it actually was still playing audio, so it wasn't completely hard locked. Something was going on with the overall drawing of the graphics or the input of the game, but not with the musical section. But even though there's still some bugs in this implementation, and even though obviously Super ZSNES is still in active development, I've loved seeing improvements like this come in, and I've love the fact that we're just getting another Super Nintendo emulator. And granted, none of the SuperFX games have any sort of enhancements in the emulator, but I know that that is the plan for the developers in the future, and that is going to be fun for people that are into them. And don't forget, it isn't just those enhancements that are going to be available. People can go in and make their own enhancements for these games and then incorporating them into Super ZSNES, so you can kind of just make this thing whatever it is you want in the future. And like I always love to say, I'll remind you one more time, because I hate the comment of, why is somebody doing this quote-unquote waste of time? Options are awesome. The more options we have to play retro games, the better. And when people are spending their spare time to give you something that costs nothing, there is no such thing as a waste of time. If you want to work on something different, you can go make that project yourself. That's totally cool with me, but I really don't like the undercurrent of quote-unquote time wasting right now. But short of that, we are done. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you have tested this emulator out, tell me your thoughts as well. But short of that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.